following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised. This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man, with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one: concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents, it is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly, picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tied me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit my knee, his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? There's no such thing as improper way. I know the law. I know the law. I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration? To profile, I use the seatbelt as a ring to profile. What? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What are you calling supervisor? I want to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July 18, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they can never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check. This is West Wednesday number 411. We're having a little bit of issues with Facebook right now. YouTube stream seems to be working, but Facebook Live is not. So I am trying to get the YouTube stream to share onto Facebook as well. But keep in mind we are having a few technical difficulties. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. So once you get it up and running on Facebook, because I know our audience is definitely waiting and anticipating, so let me know as soon as possible, and I can share it, because I know they probably want to do something. But no further ado, like we said.
It is up now.
Oh, it's up now. Okay, cool. I'll go on your page and make it start chill. But as my brother Ben said, this is West Wednesday. This is week 411. And pretty much we've been fighting for a very long time, not just for my big brother Tyrone West, but for all the victims of police brutality, murder. It's just not right. Like it's horrible. And as we can see, that it's constantly happening over and over again. So then it becomes to the point of what should we do? Like as you saw in that video, and if it's your first time tuning into that video, that full video, that is one of the first killers, Ruiz, that actually started murdering my brother Tyrone West. Literally, him and David Chapman was the first two killer cops at my vehicle. And then, if that wasn't enough, they started pulling him out by his dreadlocks. Chapman did, and then followed up. Ruiz started pepper spraying him and tasing him, and it just got crazy. I'm sorry, Ruiz started tasing him. And Chapman was the one that was pepper spraying. Chapman sprayed 2 canisters of some type of chemical. And to the point that that's the only reason why the paramedics showed up at the scene tonight. They didn't show up because Tyrone West like that. They didn't show up because witnesses even called the police themselves and said, hey, there's a man being beat senselessly by officers. Like, they didn't know what was going on, but I give it up to people on Kentmore, Carlsbad. They actually tried to save my brother's life. And it's just sad, like, why do our loved ones have to go through what we're going through? And then at the end of the day, what I really want to talk about, until we make all of these cases matter, every case, if every case don't matter, we're not going to get anywhere. Let's be crystal clear. Because how the system plays is, they'll make some families that, and it's only when stuff start burning down and you hit them in their pockets is when they'll put someone's loved one up there. You get what I'm saying? In the spotlight, that's when all the cancer comes. But that's horrible. Every case that Tyrone West, every case. And I just want to give a big shout out and give love to my sister, Gina. It is India's birthday today. She should be here. She should not be celebrating a heavenly birthday. She should be on earth with her mom. She should be on earth with her beautiful children. Instead, her life was snatched. She was gunned down. And you're talking about a woman that had goals, like that was a hard worker that even worked for this so-called damn America. They gave nothing. She was a vet. Like, she put her life on the line to actually get executed by killer, notorious cops. This is heartbreaking. You know, and I was just on a show last night with one of my guests that I'm going to have. So we have like a couple of guests. And I was on Felipe's show last night, and I met him, the mother of Eric. And he was actually gunned down, 20 years old, gunned down because he had a two-way weapon. Like, are you freaking kidding me? That they could walk killer cops to accountability. But I just want to let y'all know, tonight we had, you know, because this is 411, which is 411, let's get some important information. 411 to me means information, right? So we need to get information out to players, so we need to have all these cases reopened. I have my brother Brock from Mass Action, who I love dearly, who has always been in the front line, not fighting for himself, but actually fighting for the families, letting the families lead the way in our fight. You get what I'm saying? Like, nobody deserves to be hurt. And if we talk about community violence, right? At the end of the day, community violence, police brutality is all sacred to the damn system that does not give a damn about us. I have my sister B. She lost 3 of her sons. I couldn't imagine
real sons, and it wasn't murdered by police, but community violence. But again, it is still a system that don't give a damn about us. And as I look at the way our city is being ran right now, literally with all the bodies that are constantly dropping every night, somebody's getting murdered, and it's always somebody that we know. Like it's hitting that close to home if it has not knocked on your door already. Like little my cousin Tavon Anderson, we don't know what it was. A community violence? Is it a serial killer on the loose, murdering all? Nobody knows anything because they're not transparent and they don't make every case matter, right? It's just like they make what matters to them matter. Just like something, soon as something break off at Fells Point, you got a triple shooting and things of that nature. But nobody got killed, but just because it's starting to pour over and they're feeling it, but they have not even felt our pain. They had their loved ones actually murdered, and now they're trying to do what they're doing this red line and stuff to try to actually basically turn this thing around and push their racist deeds and make us can't do this and we can't do that type of thing. There's a lot of stuff we gotta watch. We should be the ones, the way we're getting murdered in these goddamn cities, we should be the ones saying, you know what, we're not gonna pay our goddamn rent. Until they make us safe on these streets, we're not gonna pay anything, right? What if we did that? We would be evicted. We already know that. They don't give a damn about us. But as soon as it hit Fells Point, Federal Hill. But what about down the damn hill? You know what I mean? All these, it's just horrible. Enough is enough. Like, in my case, my sister, she lost three of her sons. I'm talking about within months apart. Like, that is horrible. I don't have any words besides I love my sister B. So, no further ado, I'm going to bring up my sister B. I'm going to hop on and try to share the YouTube video to my Facebook page. So, no further ado, I'm going to bring on my sister B, and then we're going to bring on Christian when she get in queue, once she's able to talk because she's at work right now. And I respect the time, but when she's able to talk, we're gonna kind of pause for a minute and go back to my sister B so she can share her experience with her son being murdered in Fells Point. So no further ado, I'm gonna bring my sister Christian in. Mic check. I'm not Christian. I'm sorry, B. Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check. I can't. Hi, everyone. Um, how are you doing today, Tawanda? How are you feeling? I
I'm
can.
good, Queen. How are you feeling? That's the
I'm
question.
feeling
How are you?
fine. I'm feeling fine today. I'm just here, like you said, every case matter, and I'm in here relaxing. Um, in the background, I have that. I wanted to say, I want to give a shout out to Gina with her daughter India birthday. I want to say I love you very much and happy birthday in heaven, India. And I want to say that she's my niece, and I'm so proud of my sister Gina for us mothers and sisters and brothers and everyone to have to deal with all of this grief that we have to deal with day in and day out when our loved ones are murdered. And it doesn't matter how they was murdered. They are gone. They're gone. They're not with us, and it saddens my heart because we still have to live with that pain, and it's just horrible just to see from when my sons was murdered to now how many killings out here that's still going on. That in this time, 2021, and everyone know that black lives, blue, brown, red, whatever life color you are, but black lives are not surviving. Um, I said once again that I didn't have my children for me not to be for them not to be here. It saddens my heart to see that mothers out here are still crying and grieving over their children or child being murdered, or a sister and brother have to see that going on. And the siblings are still here fighting for this. And now we're saying open all the cases and bring all the cases together, because at the end of the day, it's all genocide. It's all connected together. Why, again, I say, why again, one race had to be swept off the earth because the color of our skin, or because we may walk a different way, or because we hold our cell phone, or because we listen to music, or because we hold Skittles, or because we blink an eye, we may get killed. It's sad that our fear level is so bad as a mother, or as a person, as a black person, fear level that you can't even go out the door. Even if you sit in your house, your child can be killed inside your house. For a black mother and a black person, period, why in the society that we as a black race have to be feared, period, to go outside or just to walk or do anything? You can't comb your hair. If you go outside, you got to look over your shoulder now. You got to look scared. It used to be when you wasn't afraid of, we wasn't afraid of anything, but now even if COVID out here, we still fighting for our thing. We that's a disease. Blackness is beautiful. So why is it that as our race has to fear anything, period? No other race but us is feared. They scared of us. For what? Why? Why? I ask that question, why? I don't have my sons today. I miss them very much. So much. Another summer without my sons. My son's father have to do another Father's Day, just like me, another Mother's Day without our children. Every day, round the clock, a black child, or children being murdered, constantly, constantly. We have so many numbers of black and brown and red people being murdered. As a race, we're shaking our head. We put the hashtag shaking my head. It's a shame. It's just outrage. I am so upset, and like Tawana said, we need to open all cases. I have this focus that every case matter. Every case matter. Open all the cases. Connect all the cases. All the cases are genocide. Genocide. It doesn't matter if you're a brother, a mother, father, sister, brother, all of us grieve because we lose our loved one, period. My three sons are not here. Tawanda, Tyrone West is not here. It's Time Robinson, every case matter. Her children are not here. Unapologetically black women, period, don't get respected. So I say to everyone, bring all the cases, every case matter, bring all the cases together as we talk. Every case matter started in 2015 of the uprising of October. We have 7 chapters. We have 3 in Ghana, and me and Tawana are one of the chapters, and we have plenty more. So we're here fighting. Tawanda, I appreciate you so much to have me here, that you never stop fighting for your brother, which is my family. So when someone get murdered, a black person or anyone get murdered, they become my family. So I say to you, I love you for having me here, for me having my voice to be heard, I am a warrior. I have my wings on all the time. You can't see them, but I'm always fighting. Um, I want to say this, on May the 13th, which is my oldest son anniversary, my nephew got shot 12 times. He survived because we prayed. We're a praying family. He's here. Then 2 weeks later, on my birthday, which was 5/31, my great nephew got shot. He's still here. He survived. This happened in Philly, not only in Maryland. They're like Tawana said, they are being attacked. We're being attacked. We don't know what happened, but 2 weeks apart, a nephew and a great nephew being shot. My When my nephew got shot, my little sister, which is my little sister's son, her fear level went up so bad. She was calling me. I felt her pain through the phone, and we connected. And I told her immediately. She was like, "What? How should I feel?" And I told her, "Whatever you feeling, that's between you and God now, because our feel level goes so bad, Juan, and I know how you feel when our loved one being murdered. To have that feeling of our heart coming out of our chest, our mind is wondering. All we can say is, God, do not take our child or take our brother or sister away from us." At that moment, that's between you and God, because you're saying in your mind, "Please don't let this happen. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to know what this is." You don't want to know what these shoes are, what me and Tawanda or any other mother feel. You don't want to know this. And every day and every night, every week, Tawanda is talking about stop the feeling. So why are we? It's like a game they're playing tag you in. You go kill this person and you win some kind of prize. What kind of prize is it for life? There's no price on nobody's life. That's community violence, that's police brutality. There's no price. How dare you can kill someone and not thinking that a life don't matter? A life matters. Tawanda, your mother didn't have your brother just for him not to be here. I didn't have my children not just to be here. Not nobody has them. Who wants to live a life like that? Who wants to do this every day? Have pictures and posters and do this? Who wants in their mind wants to do this every week? That you talking about your brother? You want him sitting there with you. You want to do cookouts and stuff. It saddens my heart that this in 2021 that we're fighting. I am a survivor, a cancer survivor. I I was so stressed out. I caught cancer from worrying about my children not being here. But nobody. I fight with Tawanda, with police brutality for all the mothers. They need a background check on all of these officers. They mentally ill too. And I'm gonna say yes. They want us to be checked. We on drugs. We don't take my children wasn't on no drugs. They was college students. But in the black community, the first thing they labeled was a child. Somebody was using drugs. My kids wasn't. So if you're doing a background check, every person that has to go get a job has to do a background check. So you're not background check people that's out here. Police officers, they have family, they get sick too. So they're not sick in their mind. And I'm being real. How dare you go out here and kill someone loved one and think that nobody should pay time? When someone kills someone in the neighborhood or anywhere, they have to go to get charged and go to court and serve time. So it's no justice for police brutality, no justice for anyone. Again, I say every case matters. So Tawanda, my heart goes out to all you. My heart goes out to all the mothers, sisters, and brothers that lost a child, a person to murder, and I love you guys. And
And we
thank you so much.
we love you too, Queen. We definitely love you too. I want to see if our Queen sister Christian is able to speak now because I know she's at work and she wanted to say a few things, and then we're gonna check in with Marcellus to see if anybody have any questions or comments. But again, I commend your strength. And real quickly, could you tell us your three sons' names?
My oldest son name, I actually have pictures. I can't see you guys can see me, but I can't see you guys. But this is my oldest son, Linton. This is my next oldest son, Randolph. And this is my third son, Reginald. And their names are Linton, Reginald, and Randolph McFadden. These are called my three sons, SUNZ. They are warriors, always have been, and always will be. And thank you, Tawanda, so much.
No, thank you for your bravery. You know, you're one of my sheroes. I have so many sheroes, and you know, you right up there. And I just commend you because I don't know how you do it. Like God is so good. We serve an awesome God to give you the strength to actually come and be able to share and be able to be so loving and caring. I just thank you so much. So yeah, just holding cue, Sister Queen. And Christian, are you ready to come on yet? Mic check.
Yes.
All right. The floor is all yours. Mic check.
Hi,
Mic check.
Hi, I'm Kristen Lundy from Frederick United. We got our start almost a year ago at this point. Really just hearing the call from our community after Breonna Taylor, um, George Floyd, and the name is slipping me right now, Ahmaud Arbery. After getting a call from our community, if they really wanted something out here, we had an event back on June 20th, and that's kind of how we got started and transitioned into a very community-based organization. However, that is not where I got my start. I had a lot of those conversations at home within our community and in school and at work, those difficult conversations with people with completely opposing views, which is still beyond me how, you can have anybody who can look you dead in the eye and say that your life, it can have an argument against your life mattering to me. Um, you know, but I am also here to speak on behalf of several members of Every Case Matters, including Ishtan Robinson. Every Case Matters was established in 2015 and has a petition with over 400,000 signatures cumulatively, and we need more. So we are definitely pushing that now. There's an action that we have August 28th where we'll be going down to the DOJ and going and handing over those signatures. It is important that we are getting that information out.
It's 7 o'clock.
Sign it if you can. Um, to me, you can't reopen the cases if first every case doesn't matter. Because they can look at you and say that your family situation doesn't matter. If you think about it, we have individuals like Al Sharpton and some even local activists who will sit there and pimp out your sons, daughters, nieces, and uncles for the highest bidder. And those are the cases that you hear on TV. Those are your George Floyds, your Breonna Taylor, your Trayvon Martins. They're not the individuals that we hold close and near to our hearts that are closer to our community. So it is very important that we are pushing that out there as well, that all of these cases collectively matter. That's why every case has to matter in order for them to open. Um, Also, I want to speak on some of the differences between community violence and police brutality. They are very much intertwined, even though how we might address and handle them might be slightly different. They are very much intertwined. When you have community violence, it is not because of skin color. It is because, oh, you got the new Nike shoes that were Nike's white owned. Okay, the liquor store in your block, white owned. Okay, the drugs in the community place white men place them into your community. So you're having these arguments and debates between people of color who then end up killing themselves, as community violence is, but it is not because of the color of their skin. However, with police brutality, it's completely different. You do have that where you are immediate target based off of the color of your skin. So why do we have those issues? Capitalism, imperialism are the top two. reasons I can think of right now as to why we have those issues. And until we address those at that core, you're not going to have much resolve in these other areas. They're all intertwined. Um, those two things in particular, me and my group will be talking about with a couple other organizations at our Juneteenth celebration, which is next Saturday between noon and 7:30. To all of my local activists that are helping out, you can't call yourself an activist and assist families if you are not talking to these families. You might have a lot of great ideas, but if you aren't sitting down and saying, hey, do you want your story out there? How do you want, this story portrayed and represented? If you aren't going to these mothers, brothers, sisters, and family members, then you're really not doing it for them. You're doing it because it's something that you benefit from. Take yourself out of it and realize that in that moment, you are a tool. And I realize nobody likes to genuinely be used, but in this case, that is what we're called to do. It is an actual calling if you're continuing to do it after one, two, and three events. It is because you are a tool to help these families push the stories that they need out and getting them, connecting them to resources that are out there. So that's just a little bit that I wanted to say. Thank you so much for having me on. Gina Best, I love you. My prayers are out to you. India, I love you. I wish I got a chance to meet you. All of my brothers and sisters that I have not gotten a chance to meet, I really wish that I gotten a chance to meet y'all. So thank you.
And thank you so much, Christian. And can you share with us how, if anybody want to reach or get in contact with you, how can we reach you?
Yes, so Frederick United has both a Facebook page as well as an Instagram page. Both are at Frederick United. Um, and that's the best way to get in contact with us. We are in the process of getting a website created as well.
Well, thank you so much. And real quick before I go on to our next guest, I wanted to check in with Marcellus. Marcellus, do anybody have any questions, comments, or thoughts at this time? Mic check.
Mic check. So I'm looking at the YouTube where all the traffic is, and so Carice Haslam says mic check. Hillary also says mic check. AC Britt, referring to our first guest, says I want to hug her. Open all the cases, justice for all, and every case matters. That is it for the comments at the moment. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you guys for sharing that. And I wanted to know, do any of our panelists have any questions for our sister Christian before she goes back to work? Alrighty, and Christian, do you have anything else that you want to share before we go on to our next guest?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
And thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. We really appreciate you and keep the wonderful work up. And if anybody want to get involved with Dream Team, how can we get involved?
If you message us directly at our Facebook or our Instagram page, we will definitely connect you. We do a lot of work here in Frederick, but we also have cases abroad outside of Frederick. I have about four now working that I'm working on in Atlanta. So it's active cases trying to get our brothers and sisters who have been wrongfully convicted of various charges out of prison. So there's so many different things that you guys can help in, whether that is donating your time, energy, finances, whatever the case might be, it'll definitely go to good use here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I posted. I think I found the Facebook page. Is it Frederick United 21702?
Yeah, you're gonna want to do the public page versus the private one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so, just moving right on, I would like to bring up our next guest, Felipe, and he is located in LA, and they have their clubhouse where they say their names, and he had a real fabulous show, which I'm sorry, when I say fabulous, meaning that it was free from getting information about our pain and our trauma. But other than that, like it's just really sad, because I don't get any joy or pleasure hearing about someone
being murdered, especially at the hands of people that's supposed to serve and protect. Like my sister said, all this stuff is intertwined, but there is a big difference. The big difference is that when community violence happens and we find out the suspect or suspects, if somebody goes up and points them out and takes them to court, you probably will never see them again. But when these killer cops murder us, we know who the hell they are. We know what they did, and they get paid for it. They get paid to torment us. And then not only if that wasn't so bad, it gets worse because now you have other enemies that are intertwined with the corruption. Like you find out that okay, this is not the killer cops. You find out that it's the medical examiner's office that are lying, like David Fowler, who's very foul, who lied not only in my brother Tyrone West case, said my brother Tyrone West died from a bad heart and dehydration, and he was tortured in broad daylight, brutally executed, pepper spray, kick, stomp, tase, all that. You get what I'm saying? All that torture. And then they let a 320-pound man named, an animal, named David Keller Lewis from Morgan State University sat on my dying brother's neck until he was dead. And his findings, what did Pamela Southpaw and David Fowler come up with? Oh no, Mr. West had a bad heart. He was dehydrated and he just died. Like, really? And they said the same thing in Antoine's Black case. And again, like my sister said, my sister B said they always want to talk about like drugs and all this stuff. So to make stuff fit, they make it seem like our loved ones got what they deserve. Like literally, they had drugs in their system. And I know damn well my brother didn't have any drugs in his system, but that's how they lied. They said Anthony Anderson had drugs in his system. And like all the victims, so they make it seem like they had drugs in their system, they got all this exuberant strength, and instead of them saying it, they just say, oh, you know, they just dropped dead. Instead of them saying it, calling it excited delirium, they'll just say, oh, they just dropped dead. Like they said, all this exuberant strength because they were high, they had a bad heart, and they just dropped dead. Not nothing to what the killer cops did. And when he got on that stage, and I'm talking about David Fowler, and threw his own damn self under the bus, literally, and said that George Floyd, then he got even ridiculous. Like, so once you allow to play this game and you have no heart, you've been doing it forever, you don't even realize how stupid, the stupidity level in which you go to, like to sell your soul out, you're just gone. So he's there talking about everything but Derek's, me being on George Floyd next. He even went so far as say carbon monoxide poisoning. Like, really? You're saying all of this, but yet the fact that he had, we saw, the world saw, in a pandemic, the world saw George Floyd screaming for his dead mouth. But I said all this to say, no further ado, I just want to bring up my brother who basically has his own program where he says names of victims and he brings victim families on. And I'm quite sure he don't get any joy out of bringing victim families on, but just getting the word out there. I definitely appreciate our brother Felipe from LA. Say their names. Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check. What's up, y'all? My name is Felipe. I mean, I got no words. I mean, B, just hearing your story and your three sons, SUNZ, just, you know, condolences going out, you know, obviously for Tyrone and all the other families on here who lost, you know, loved ones to these racist killer cops. You know, I'm from Chicago originally, southwest side. So if you heard about Adam Toledo, 14 years old, that's my neighborhood. Grew up, we knew who the police were, who they served, and it certainly wasn't us growing up. I've been out in LA for about going on 11 years, I guess, and you know, been involved in this struggle for a while. Just real quick about Say the Names LA, it's certainly not my group. I am one of the sort of founding members. It's probably about, I don't know, maybe like a half dozen organizers with, I mean, now the families have grown, probably about 30 families. But it's always been a sort of family-led organizer mix from the jump. There's all various sort of political persuasions, from like defund to abolition to like myself, I'm a communist, I'm the Progressive Labor Party. I think, you know, the short version is, why does this happen, B? It's because it's been happening since day one with systemic racism, super exploitation That's how they generate wealth, and they keep us divided. I think about um, how important anti-black racism is for the system. You have poor white people right now dying by the hundreds every day from the opioid epidemic, and yet they're more likely to go vote for Trump than they are to stand with their, undocumented immigrants who are in cages right now on the border, with indigenous folks who've been reduced to reservations out in, bumfuck with poor health care, to us black and brown folks in these cities. It's divide and conquer. You know what I mean? It's divide and conquer. You keep folks treated differently, and believing that we got these so-called races anyway. So they got us all fucked up right now. But imagine if we united. To me, that's the ultimate fear. That's why they created race and color in the first place, is because we used to be together and we used to have revolutions and revolt together, and they don't want that. So to me, that's something we got to build. Slavery was abolished, but capitalism remained, and we're still living in this hellhole. That's why in 2021 we're still seeing what we see every few hours, every day. These cops is killing one of us. Say the names of LA, as I was mentioning. Man, it's been really saddening but inspiring at the same time to see how these families have come together and organizing together and building together. We've had a number of events over the last, say, maybe 9 months. But, the next thing we're leading up to, really, the big thing is DC, and that's what you all have been organizing. I know Rock for Mass Action is on here, the West Coalition, Every Case Matters, right, is on here. And so the degree that we can broaden this out, we got about 30 families signed up to travel. So we're struggling to raise that money to get people tickets for those who can't afford it. But we're going to certainly be coming out here to DC. So we all are looking forward to meeting y'all in person and doing what we can to cross pollinate. We want to tell your story, B. Obviously Tyrone's story in LA. We did that yesterday. That was actually it was in the very last minute, but it worked out. So yeah, I won't ramble on, but it's I don't know, just humble to be here. I am still at work. Unfortunately, our time difference is here. I got one more patient to see, yeah, maybe. How much longer is this gonna be going on?
Yeah, we normally go to like 8 o'clock.
So that's okay. All right. So maybe what I'll do, if y'all don't mind, I can hop off and then hop back on in about 20, 30 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Okay. Okay. All right. But thank y'all for having me, and I'll be back on in a minute.
Okay, and let me ask you something. Do you have a minute?
Yeah.
I just want to check
Yeah.
in with Marcellus just to see if anybody has a direct question for you really quick.
For sure.
Marcellus, do we have any questions or comments?
So I don't see any comments on YouTube or Twitch at the moment.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so Felipe, feel free to jump back
Yeah.
in when you can.
Okay, I'll hop back on. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. Mic check. So moving right on, we have my brother Brock, like I said, from Mass Action, that does a lot of work working with different families and just trying to get this thing like we're trying to get these cases reopened. Because at the end of the day, like my sister Christian said, until we make all of every case matters, right? It's going to be this divide and conquer game. So if we move every case matters, this petition that's out, right? And we get these million of signatures that we desperately need. And this is sad that like when things like break out at Fells Point, up the hill, down the hill, wherever, not down there, because they don't care about down the hill. When it breaks out in Federal Hill and Fells Point, different types of places, they get concerned. They push petitions and they're like, we're not gonna pay our rent. Sign this petition. We want a curfew. We want cops to do this, that, and the third. And you saw how the cops were out there when all the hell was breaking loose and they did a goddamn thing. They've been doing this. That's my whole point. They've been doing this, and it's just said every sense, and they want to say, "Oh well, it has nothing to do with the consent decree." Yes, it does. Anytime you say or just stand up and rebel against this dirty ass system, excuse my French, because I try to keep it neat, clean as much as I can. But when you stand up and you step up for what's right, they rebel in a sense of where, so they're like, you know what? Let it turn into the Wild Wild West. We don't give a damn what y'all do. Kill each other, do whatever. You know, they care about what they care about. And that's just simply it. And then now they want to say it at the same time, they just got a big raise to sit there and do not a goddamn thing, to sit there and the number rate of homicides is just skyrocketing high, and they don't give a damn. It's babies getting killed. We read the sad list every week of all the homicides in our city, and it's not. Unfortunately, it's not a Baltimore thing. Unfortunately, it is a worldwide thing. One must say, but it's just sad who it affects worldwide. It affects black and brown folks, and it's really sad and it's very disgusting to me. But it's just sad, like I said, if any type of hell break out in certain neighborhoods, that's what that butterfly effect, the black butterfly effect that my brother talked about, who I brought him to our circle, and he talked about. And I'm thinking about bringing him back on as a guest because that book is real. Like this is our reality. They don't give a damn. They care about what they care about, and they push their racist thoughts through these petitions and say, "Let's do this." And I bet you they get all the signatures. And right now, we sat in there with a little bit of signatures on this petition. And the crazy part, most of the signatures that we have are white liberals. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm throwing it out there. Like it's just sad. Like what are we doing? You can't sign a piece of sign a digital signature online. Takes you not even a minute. Sign the damn thing. Sign the thing, push it, and share it. Get everybody to sign. Because at the end of the day, until we make every case matters, we're not gonna be able to reopen these cases. They're gonna keep doing the Doug and Tony show. But no further ado, I want to bring up my brother Brock from Mass Action, who has been desperately working and he's not selling his soul out. That's why I love him. That's why I love our brother Brian. I love everybody from Mass Action because they're the real deal. I love everybody from Every Case Matters. They're the real deal. You know, when you gotta give people props when you see them. So no further ado, our brother Brock. Mike check.
Like that.
Mic check. Yeah. Peace, Tawanda. Much love. Always an honor to be part of West Wednesdays. The 411 episode. So we do need to give people 411. What an amazing just a tribute to y'all for maintaining this for 411 episodes. So much respect there. Yeah, I mean, I just I'm with Mass Action Against Police Brutality. You know, we've been working with a lot of the families impacted by police violence and across the country now. You know, over the last, we also formed in 2015 actually, coincidentally, in March of 2015. Although you know, some of us go far back beyond that, like myself, but I believe definitely since 2014, since Mike Brown, we're in a new era in the history of the United States and clearly the history of the fight against police brutality. But you know, what emerged at that point was evidence of a mass movement that was national around the fight against police brutality. Never happened before in the history of the U.S. I mean, I never heard of it before. Now, with the elections and with the Trump presidential, election, that kind of took the attention off of it for a couple, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But it didn't matter who was in office, the problem continues to persist. And then, in the most dramatic way, George Floyd kind of proved once again, for whatever reason, it is the flashpoint of U.S. politics. I mean, of I don't know, all the conflicts within this society, you know, were expressed through George Floyd and through the fight against police brutality, I think. And the reopen the case, the question, I would actually say the opposite. I would say every case will not matter until we reopen the cases. Because the one thing, the difference between the two words, and I support the words. I do believe every case matters, and we should demand, or we should affirm that. But the only way we can affirm it is by reopening the cases, and that is a demand. You know, one is the affirmation. Reopen the cases is a demand, that a specific demand on the U.S. government, because you might have the sentiment that every case matters, and you don't really care about prosecution, you don't really think it's possible or whatever, or so you don't even mention it. You might just only say, we just need to defund the police, you know? And that's what you see a lot in a lot of these protests and demonstrations. They're not even demanding prosecution of the police. But I don't, you know, what we've been raising is that, you know, that's an elementary thing that you have to do. Now, whether or not you can do it in America, well, we already proved you can do it. It happened with Derek Chauvin. Now we'll see what happens with the sentencing. We're considering doing some kind of protest on June 25th. Here, that's when he's going to be sentenced. We'll see what it is. But I mean, already the prosecution is demanding kind of more than what they would normally demand. What this is, to me, is a reflection not of the system, like, you know, showing good faith. It's the pressure, it's the political pressure. It's the fruit of 30 million people taking the streets. And that's the mass action part of it. To me, that's what's new. That's the world that opened up in 2014 with Mike Brown. Mass action became a political factor, a political reality in U.S. politics, where, you know, protests began to matter again. It was no longer a mythology of the 60s, but now it's part of our everyday life. In the 2020s, not 2021. Yeah, I mean, Mike Brown and that uprising wasn't a fad. It's just it's an aspect of the political reality of the U.S. George Floyd is continued evidence that the central conflict is unresolved, you know, that these cops are getting away with murder with the sanctioning of the government itself in open daylight in front of the population. And we've been kind of given a challenge to call it out. And that's kind of what it is, you know, how I see it. You know, it's just simply, we have to call it out at the minimum, you know. Chips will fall where they may, but that at the minimum, we must organize the entire country to call it out in every single case. And that's what the reopen the case demand means. And that's why we're revisiting these things. And the focus is not on future legislation, but no, actually these past crimes that have already been committed by the government that are illegal under existing law. It's about not a legislative demand, but with immediate political demands for action by the government now, that we're within our rights to demand and to mobilize the country to also demand. And that's what the families represent at this moment, is the demand that every case matter, that these cases must be prosecuted, that they must be reopened. And not only the police, but everyone who might have been involved in a cover-up, possibly. Like in this case, a medical examiner should be considered, you know, potentially, you know, prosecuted for criminal charges. So that's what the demand justice for all really goes. It goes at the heart of the problem, however low or however high it goes in government. The one case we've always pointed out as the best example is the Laquan McDonald case in Chicago, which really didn't get full justice when you look at it. But because there was like some kind of resistance at the time, and a Freedom of Information Act was done, which released the dash cam evidence of what happened. the settlement that was a hush money settlement organized by the city government to keep this thing under wraps before the elections, coincidentally, but it was basically exposed, and they it was proven that Laquan McDonald was unarmed, and they shot him 16 times, and a big pressure campaign developed. They had to reopen the case. They charged Jason Van Dyke. It was one of the few prosecutions of that era between Mike Brown and George Floyd. But not only that, they charged 4 other officers for evidence of destroying evidence. I think they had lesser sentences, but they actually were charged and convicted 4 other officers. But despite that, we know that there were way more officers than that weren't held accountable. And not only that, the city council was implicated. The state prosecutor was implicated. The police superintendent was implicated. He resigned, but he wasn't prosecuted for a criminal act. The mayor was implicated. They all should have been indicted for obstruction of justice at the very least, for criminal charges. That is the justice for all demand. That's how deep it goes. How far we can impose real truth and real justice based on the crimes committed by the police and the other members of the government depends on the mass movement. We saw 30 million come out. We submit that this is just a scratch of the surface. There's way more where that came from, and that we need to remain in the streets. That needs to be the focus. Justice for all, prosecute the police, reopen the cases. Everything else, is, can be things that happen, but until these police actually are held accountable for the crimes they commit, it doesn't matter, how much you shrink the police force, they'll still have a green light to kill. So anyways, that's kind of the spirit that we've been working with other families to come together. I think the significance is that we're seeing like a kind of a groundswell. And already there's 314 family members from 35 states plus the District of Columbia that have endorsed this march. And we think we're just, there's more out there. But more importantly, as kind of some of the comments were raised earlier, I think are important from Frederick's United, that the families really have to be at the center of this fight, of this protest movement. It's not really, we've seen organizations, come up, whatever, individuals make millions in the name of this fight. But ultimately, the fight, comes out of the deaths of the loved ones of these families, and they're the real kind of voices for those, those lives that were taken that really are at the heart of this mass movement, and that has to really be at the heart of it. But more than that, to me, why, we kind of got to ask ourselves, why is it that this particular fight is producing these kind of reactions? We don't see it in other kind of protests, really. And to me, I believe part of the heart of it is that this is kind of at the heart of the fight for democratic, civil, and human rights in the United States. It's kind of the flashpoint of it. And you know, it's not just the individual families that we're defending, but we're really defending the rights of everyone. But if they're not respected in these cases, you know, they're not respected in general. You know, no one has rights. So that's why we have to demand, you know, true justice is done, especially, you know, in these cases where we really believe, there's been a trampling of the law that took place. But even beyond that, like, since we know that they've covered up some cases, why would we believe the other cases were done fairly in any way? They should all be reopened. So on that, I feel like I've talked too long, but I just think what gives me a lot of hope and confidence is just that the families, are coming together, and that it's kind of like it really is a new political force in the country that's independent of anything else going on. And I believe that, I don't think anything can stop that. I think it's just going to keep getting stronger and stronger. And, it's not about an action in itself, really. It's about all of us starting to come together and learn how to work together across states, across the nation in a common struggle, but on a new foundation, on a different kind of foundation than what we've seen up to now. One that's kind of rooted in, the impacted families and the truth of their struggle, which is really, our struggle. So anyways, that's it. I'm gonna stop. Sorry.
You don't have nothing to be sorry about, Brother Brock. You shared a lot of good information. And before I check in with our brother Marcellus, I wanted to read one comment from my Facebook. And by the way, our Facebook has been shut down today. And I'm thinking Instagram. This is crazy. That's why I really feel like we got to come up with our own social media platforms, because it's just like that's why sometimes I really don't like advertising what the production is going to be, because then they can interfere anyway, just like with us, stating that, getting together for our march and saying we're going to be at this spot, we're going to be at Lincoln Memorial, then they can block us. And that's why I really don't like to announce stuff. That's why I like to acknowledge stuff, or once you let them know what you're going on, they block you, and it be all it's just crazy. I mean, I know things happen, but at the same time, it's very interesting. So anyway, moving right on. We had a comment from our sister, It's Time Robinson, and she says, beautiful, powerful, sis, keep up the incredible work. All the guests are amazing. We love West Wednesday. Special shout out to our ECM Voices, Warrior Queen B and Warrior Queen Christian. We love you eternally. Much respect to Wanda, West Ramsey, and all the guests. So I wanted to share that, and I want to check in with Marcellus to see if we have any questions or comments. Mic check.
Mic check. So there's still not a lot of activity. I guess with the Facebook page being down, so there's no comments at the moment. Mic check.
Mic check. So real quick, I want to go back to my sister B and check in real quick. Sister B, sorry that I interrupted you. And I wanted to know, is any more that you want to add? And if you could tell us a little bit about your three sons, that would be great. And like we know that you lost your three sons, like in a matter, was it weeks or months apart?
It was weeks apart. It was like
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks apart. That day was murdered. And one of my oldest, like again, in May, it was the year that year. It was on Mother's Day, so
All
and then it's in my birthday, so I really didn't. I don't really like celebrating nothing in May, so that was kind of shocked when my oldest son anniversary was the 13th. I thank God to my great niece, which is her birthday, land on his anniversary. So we kind of do celebration. But when my little sister called and said that my nephew got shot on my oldest son anniversary, immediately she was crying already, and I started crying. And then when I was crying, she was like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Why are you sorry?" And she was like, "It happened on your baby. He got shot on your baby's anniversary." And I told her, I said, "It's fine. I just want you to pray." And it's amazing that in our family we have warriors, and it's amazing that I can share, or I can be happy in some kind of way, not because my son was murdered. It's because their spirit, every day my sons told me that they love me and I love them. Um, they was my oldest son, which is Linton. He wanted to be a judge. My son Randolph, he wanted to be an artist, and my son Reginald, my third son, he wanted to be an architect. Now they all being what they want to be in heaven, because someone senseless choose to take their life. Um, I'm a fighter, Wanda. Again, I done been to so many protests and so many marches, so many. I support everyone. Doesn't matter who they are. It's the fact that they all ask me every time I do an interview to Wanda, they always ask me, how do I survive with losing three sons? And I always tell them, when you see me, my smile, my laughter, my heart, my softness, to me, I try to be the best, nice person possible. Um, I'm one of those moms, a little quiet because I lost so many children. I don't know how to act. Is there any way I should act? Is there any way a mother that lost a child or lost more than one child should act? I I lost my kids. I want to cut the food. I really do. I want to destroy something. I haven't had a chance to even, after all these years, to just hit something, throw something around, do something. I haven't had a chance to do that because I don't know how to do that, because my loss is so great that if I do that, I feel as though I'll be hurt every day. I imagine my life, how, or where I would be. I have no grandkids. I have step grandkids. I have none. They took away my my grandkids to have the ability to have grandkids. I would love to have them. I have I have great I have nieces and great nieces and great nieces and great nieces that loves me to death, that calls me. I am in this world with I wonder when it happened. I asked God. I questioned God. I'm not going to talk too much longer. I questioned God. I said, "Why this happened to me? Why did you take three of my sons back to back?" And at the time, I didn't know what was going on. And as I as the years go by, has been going by, He says to me, "I am a warrior." And at some point, I think my sons, they wanted to be what they wanted to be, but they couldn't be, so they had to go to heaven and fight. So their spirits. So when you see me, and I tell everybody, they know me by my hair being dyed. Uh, that's one of my sons, um, Reginald, my third son. He liked colors, so my hair dyed. I smile because of Linton. Randolph, he was quiet. Sometimes I'm quiet. And all of that combined is their spirit inside of me, keep me dancing, keep me alive, knowing I have one son alive. He's not here. I don't talk about him too much because he's private. Um, I love him. He's my last son. He don't have no siblings, and I said it a million times. I don't know how that feel because I still have my siblings. I know how it feels to lose a mother losing a child, children, but I don't know how he felt. I'm his backbone. He's mine. I survived by knowing that I survived, and thank God that I survived. Um, I'm holding up every case matter sign just well, but to let you know that all cases matter, Tawanda. I'm
Yes.
one of those mothers gonna fight. I'm gonna fight to the end, and I thank you so much. I love you.
I love you more, Queen. Like you break my heart every time I hear you and you touch me. Like, oh my God. I just want to get before we go into like our sad listen, kind of move on. I just want to just like give you a virtual hug. Like, oh my God, like
Yeah,
just,
here's
just
one.
love you
Mwah.
so much. Like keep
Mhm.
being strong and no mother should have to go through the pain that you endured. And I'm just glad that you came to some type of peace with it. Because sometimes, it's unfortunately in life, we have to pretty much accept most of the things that come that we can't change. You get what I'm saying? Like we have the option sometimes we're not feeling like riding our car, we can catch the bus. We can do another. If we don't like our job, we can quit it. But when death hits us, when death hits our loved ones, when they're murdered, when they die, that's something that we can't change, and it's horrible. And the only thing we're left to do is deal with it, and that's terrible. That's like it's torture. You get what I'm saying? But I'm just glad through it all you had peace, and you are a warrior. You're like one of the strongest persons I know. Like I just love you, and I just commend you, and I'm just asking and begging that you continue on being strong and keep doing what you're doing because we love you, and I just wanted to let you know that like I love you, my queen.
I love you too, and I love all the mothers out here. And again, Gina, I love you to the moon and back. And my heart goes out um, to everyone and everyone that lost someone. Again, I love you, Tawanda, to the moon and back. And every case matter to everyone. We open all the cases.
Yes, we open all the cases. Yeah, so again, and like you said, and we started off by saying our heart goes out to Gina. This is India Kager's heavenly birthday. She would have been 33 years old. That is horrible. That's disgusting. And I also want to hold in this sacred space right now Keith Davis Jr. I want to hold Kelly. I want to hold her children. I even want to hold Kevin Jones who was murdered, and they're trying to pin it on Keith Davis Jr. because Keith Davis Jr. was the first man gunned down by Baltimore City Police literally after the uprise. Literally, he was gunned completely down. But because he survived, he's literally, they're trying to bury him alive. Like he's going up for this is his sixth trial, and it gets more dirtier as we go. They're trying to pin something else inside of the jail on him. It's like they're doing everything at this young man, everything. But by the grace of God, he's holding on. By the grace of God, Kelly's holding on. And I'm just praying, like at the end of the day, nobody can stop what God has promised. You get what I'm saying? Like God knows, God sets up high, but he sees everything. And he's watching. And my biggest prayer is that I'm praying right now that they catch the killer of Kevin Jones and they have enough of, integrity to basically say, you know what, we finally caught the real killer of Kevin Jones and let Keith Davis Jr. go. This is like utterly sad and ridiculous that you will go to such extent
like to pin and frame a young man and try to take his life and know damn well he did not kill. And then you got another family that want nothing but accountability. Just like I want accountability for whoever murdered my loved one, Tavon Anderson. I'm not trying to hear anything. I want accountability for those killer cops who murdered Tyrone West. That's what families want. When your loved one is murdered, that's all you want. You want accountability for your three sons if you haven't gotten it already. So I said all that to say, but when the system knows, they know, they know. And for you to do it for literally Keith to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, they try to pin a robbery on him of a hack, all this. And even the hack driver came and said, no, that wasn't, it was a much older guy that robbed me. This is a young man, like, no, that wasn't him. That wasn't enough. Then they try to put plant a gun on him that never been fired, but mysteriously this gun killed Kevin Jones. And then this gun was basically owned from a dirty police officer. Or, you know, it's a whole lot like Hollywood. You couldn't make this stuff up. You could not make this stuff up. But I'm praying that real accountability happens, and I'm praying that Keith Davis Jr. comes home, and that Keith Davis Jr. like make a movie about this. Like this is like nobody's life should be a movie. But the reason why I said I feel like he should have a movie because they could that movie could save people's lives to show you just how dirty this city is. I wish one day I could have a movie about all the dirt that they did for my brother Tyrone West and all the dirt that they're doing to all of our loved ones. Like it's just sad, but it's sad that people have to see literally the dirt before they actually believe it. And some of them don't even want to accept it. Like everybody's sweeping what the gun trace task force did, like they think that it's gone. They were planting drugs on people, but you know, and they were still in existence. Meanwhile, while this gun was planted on Keith Davis Jr., somebody that's basically gunned down, like literally shot it over 40 plus times, 3 bullets hit him. He's unconscious, and then now all of a sudden the gun is laying near him. You get what I'm saying? Near him, supposed to have murdered somebody. Like this is sad and sick, but this is our reality. But moving right on and checking in real quick before we go to our sad list. I want to check in real quick myself because I know it's real. You know, like I don't want to say dry, but only because we're not on Facebook. Because normally you getting so many comments and things of that nature. But do you have any comments or questions or anything from YouTube?
So there may be some issues with YouTube blocking some of the comments. Hillary posted in the chat that it's not letting some comments post on YouTube. Like she tried to post a petition onto YouTube and it was blocked by YouTube. So there may be some issues. Felipe is also back. He's viewing from his car, but yeah, there's some technical challenges, maybe caused by YouTube or some of the other platforms trying to sabotage us.
Yes, and then I wanted to say, and I'm glad this is happening, guys. Like maybe, and I'll share my watch party later if they don't try to block that. But anyway, moving right on. This is real. Like people may say, "Oh, these people are nuts," but after your loved one is being murdered, if you're not nuts, guess what? Then it is what it is. But I said all this to say, don't do drugs, don't engage in getting high. Got a sane mind. I teach school every day. I love the babies, all that stuff. So there's nothing going on with me. But it's interesting that my sister Ishtown that does Every Case Matter, she was actually blocked off of Facebook for a while for doing nothing. Literally been trying to share this petition. She was pushed, she couldn't block. Every time it's interesting that every time we say every case matters, weird stuff starts happening. Weird stuff on social media platform is now shut down. That shows you that this is very interesting. And this is why it's very important, guys. Whether you see this now in the live form and repeat, because I'm going to make sure I keep sharing it and sharing it over and over again. Make sure you sign that petition. Please, guys, we have to. This shows you that they can do whatever they want to do to try to stop and block us. But guess what? We are the people and we have power. You heard my brother Brock come on here and share. You heard our sister Christian. You heard our sister B. And you also heard our brother Felipe shared. Like we are the people. The people, we are the power. So before we go into our sad list again, I want to give a big, shout out to all of our special guests. I'm so sorry that we're having these unusual technical issues because, like I said, we've been doing this for weeks now online, literally almost a year plus online, and we never had such glitches like this. But it's interesting now that we put every case matters, we put save their names all together like different coalitions. It was about mass action, and we come together to say one fight, one cause, one purpose. All hell breaks out. So we need to learn that when they do that, we need to stick together even more and push more of our own agendas and let them not stop us. And the first thing we need to start doing is working on our own social media platforms, really, like real. Like, and I have some folks now that I'm working. So when they do come underway, I will share with you guys because I'll be glad to throw Facebook in the trash where it deserves to be. I'm just gonna be honest because it's like I think about Corinne Gaines when she was murdered. She was on Facebook Live, guys. She was on Facebook Live when Killer Ruby came in and executed her and tried to kill her baby, shot her baby in the face. All of it was cool on Facebook Live, but mysteriously it got blocked. Mysteriously, we see little small clips of Ruby acting like he's pleading, oh, please, we don't have to do this. So BS. Get out of here with the foolishness. We're tired. So this shows you how powerful the people are as we unite and pull together one fight, one cause, one purpose. So again, moving right on, we have sad list. We have the list of police brutality victims and whatnot that we share every week. And we also have a sad community list. And I don't know who has the sad community list, but I would like to share that first. Do we have the sad community list and who's reading that tonight?
Yeah, I have that, Tawanda.
Oh, cool. So
One sec, Tawana. Did you
yeah.
want Felipe to come back on?
Oh yes, no, yes. So I definitely want him to come back on. I just want to read our sad list and then definitely bring our brother back on. And I also want to bring Brock. Is Brock still in queue or did Brock leave?
As far as I can tell,
I'm still here.
oh, my fault, Brock.
Awesome. Yeah, and I wanted to actually, before we completely wrap all the way up, I wanted to bring Felipe and Brock back on with like final wrap up thoughts and yeah, definitely. But I just want to kind of while we at the center point of moving on to the sad list, I definitely want to keep that flowing. But as we go into these sad lists, before Brian reads off all the homicides, like this is somebody's family, y'all. Like he could easily be your family. Like literally, I just had to bury my grandmother last week, and as heart wrenching as that was, and she wasn't murdered. She lived a long, prosperous, beautiful life. And that's the only thing that's giving me the peace to be able to go to work, the peace to be able to bring my family and to come through this or try to pull through it the best way I know how without being sad because I keep on looking back at the memories of my beautiful grandmother and I hear her in my ear every day saying, baby, I live my life, live yours. Do the things that I taught you to do, and that's living in love and living in peace and living in integrity and being a strong, black, beautiful woman that you are. And that's who I'm going to be, and that's what I'm going to keep pushing. And I hear it every day, and I reflect every morning waking up without her being here on earth and talking to me every day. Just hearing her voice in my ear and thinking about memories. So moving right on as we listen to this sad list. I want you to think about like how death strikes you, whether they're murdered, whether it's an act of God or whatever. When they're no longer in your present space where you can actually reach out and hug them, reach out and jack them up, or do whatever it is, reach out and joke and play with them, talk to them in the physical realm. It's heartbreaking. It's already heartbreaking when someone is murdered. My God, that's just it. It's like that's not an act of God. That wasn't not that like that's horrible. So as we before we do that, I want us to guys take 1 minute, just 1 minute. I just want to grant us peace at this moment. Let's not say anything for 1 minute. 1 minute. Let's just If you pray, pray. If you think of people, if you wanna, you got some answers or ways that we can fight and have not another family member. Because guess what? The list was tripling over. Now it's hitting Fells Point, where they're worried about this communist system, that they're worried about dollars as opposed to a life. As opposed to life, they're worrying about people packing up, shutting down shop, money. That's all the hell they give a damn about. But what about the brothers and sisters and mothers and daughters that are murdered every day? What about these people on this list, y'all? What about this list that we read to you daily? That's not even an updated list. Like this list ain't updated. This ain't in real time. Like we always offer it. And it's this and to me it's intentionally done. They don't want us to know that maybe 15 or 16 people killed this week. So what they'll do is they'll say it's 6 names this week when it's really 16. So one moment of peace, guys. 1 minute before we go into this list. Please, guys. 1 minute. Start now. Ashe. Thank you guys so much. And again, I'm praying for these families. Um, Brother Brian, it's all yours. Mic check.
Mic check.
Yeah, mic check. Thanks, Twanda, and for just putting us in a space where we can remember and feel and see these people for what they were as real people who were torn from us too soon, and let them be an inspiration for us all to continue to work for the beloved community where all people are treated with respect and compassion, and where there's abundance for all. So if you could just hold these people in memory by echoing their names back to me. It's a fairly short list this week, starting with Kenneth McCoy, 62.
Kenneth
McCoy.
Kenneth McCoy.
Floyd.
James McLean, 33.
James McLean.
Keona Britton, 27.
Keona Britton.
Stephen Boyer, 30.
Stephen Boyer.
It's 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, that's someone loved one. Just imagine if it was yours. How would you feel? You'd be devastated. So hopefully we come up with something. And to me, these politicians not the answer. The Baltimore City Police Department is truly not the damn answer. And it's a lot going on. So we have to figure this out because how many more are there? Expecting there's a so-called quota at the end of the year so they can say, oh, we reached past 300 and something bodies. Sickening, very disgusting. So as we go on, I want to check in first to see if Uncle Bill has the list of the police violence.
Yes, would you like me to do that now?
Yes, but before we do that, I would like to give us another minute, if we must, please, just show respect for thoughts, that we can fight this ugly system, demolish it, or whatever. Let's just keep these family members at peace and in prayer, one thought. 1 minute, guys, starting now. Ashe, thank you, everyone. The floor is all yours, Uncle Bill. Mic check.
Mic check, Ashe. I'm going to be reporting on lives that the police stole, and we're dealing tonight with just 3 days since the names we read last week. So that's May the 30th, May the 31st, and June 1st. And in those 3 days, to the extent that we're aware of, perhaps there are more cases, the police stole 9 lives. It's an average of 3 a day, and that's the reality. They kill about 1,100 people a year, which works out to about 3 a day. So this is unfortunately typical. On May the 30th, they stole 3 lives. On May the 31st, they stole 4 lives. And on June the 1st, they stole 2 lives. 2 of the people have not been identified in the Washington Post, which is where we take this information from. The last person whose name I'll read, who was killed on June the 1st, was killed with a toy weapon. You may have heard his name. So, first on the list, May the 30th, 32 years old, from Louisville, Kentucky. Let's honor Ryan Bernal.
Ryan Bernal.
Also on the 30th, from Montiers, Oklahoma, 48 years old. Let's honor Hank Miller.
Hank Miller.
Also on May 30th, from Denver, Colorado, let's honor 29-year-old Shannon Wright.
Shannon Wright.
Moving to May 31st, 33 years old, from Tucson, Arizona, let's honor Joshua Moore.
Joshua Moore.
Also on the 31st, from San Jose, California, 27 years old, let's honor David Tovar Jr.
David Tovar Jr.
Also on the 31st, in Jameson, Alabama, 71 years old, let's honor Roger Keller.
Roger Keller.
Also on the 31st, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a 49-year-old man was gunned down by the police, but he has not yet been identified. I'm sorry we can't uplift his name. The same is true on June the 1st in Independence, Kentucky. That gentleman's name has not yet been released. And then the final person this evening, whose life was stolen by the police on June 1st in Berwick, Louisiana, was 37 years old with a toy weapon. His name is Robert Pierce.
Robert Pierce.
Robert Pierce. And I'd like to make 2 announcements. One is that next week, West Wednesday will be on June the 16th. And June the 16th is a very special day that's not well known in the United States. But the struggle against racism is a worldwide struggle. And in South Africa, they used to have a system known as apartheid, which legally kept people of color, which was the vast majority of the population, in the worst areas. They were shipped out of places they had lived and forced to live in rural areas where the farmland was so terrible and the poverty was so intense that half the children died by the age of 5. And if you wanted to move from there to a place to get a job, you had to have a special passport. And if a teenager walked out of the door and forgot to bring their passport and the police stopped them, the family might not know what happened to them for months and months. And this was apartheid. In 1976, on June the 16th, the middle school students in Soweto is a black township outside of Johannesburg, about 1 million people. But they were not allowed to live in Johannesburg, they had to live outside in Soweto. So the middle school students organized a march to the stadium protesting apartheid. And the police opened fire. The first to die was Hector Peterson, 13 years old. Here's a picture of him being held by family members right after he was shot. And hundreds more were killed. The students decided to hold a strike which went on for 2 years. And many of the workers also went on strike. It was a very powerful protest against apartheid. Many of those who eventually led the fight to defeat apartheid 18 years later cut their political teeth during the uprising in Soweto in June 16th of 1976. So next week on West Wednesday, it will be the 45th anniversary of the Soweto Rebellion. And I wanted to mention that. The second announcement is that we were going to have a challenge discussion tonight with 2 articles about Israel and Palestine, but we're putting that off till next week because we have some other very important work to do on the fight for accountability for Tyrone and others. So Mike Check, back to you.
Mike Check. And Brother Brock sends his love, he had to go. So I'll let our brother Felipe, if he's still in the queue, if he have any more final thoughts before we wrap this completely up. Mike Check.
Mike Check.
Mike Check. Man, thank y'all. I'm a physician assistant. I work in a clinic in Watts. And our clinic was born out of the Watts Rebellion. We brought the Soweto Rebellions. Obviously we know about the Baltimore Rebellion, Ferguson, etc. So in 1965, right, Watts, again, in response to police brutality, the community rose up, and my clinic, MLK Hospital, Charles Drew University, there's like a mental health facility called Kedron. All of these are byproducts of those uprisings. And yeah, here we are, 50 years later, more than 50 years later, and a lot hasn't changed. So I think that some of this just sort of addresses that kind of question of like, what can reforms, what can commissions on police violence, and because when they looked at 65, they're like, well, what were the causes of the rebellion, right? Well, obviously police brutality was the main one, but it was also lack of access to healthcare, quality healthcare, lack of access to quality education, which is why these various institutions were built. And yet can't solve the problem of systemic racism. And I say all of that to say that we and I said this sort of earlier, we got a big fight ahead of us. I've heard one another say we need a revolution. I just want to second that and lift that up. We absolutely need to overthrow this whole fucking racist capitalist system. Figure out how to do that. By the way, I'm a Progressive Labor Party. I think y'all are going to talk about challenge, so that's a dope discussion to have. We got to start having that here in LA with some of our folks. But yeah, I do got to run. I just wanted to say, there's so many ways in which capitalism terrorizes us, from police being like the most obvious, just gross form of racist terror to like what I see, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, HIV. I see this day in and day out, and all of it's the same thing. It's a consequence of racist oppression and capitalism. So anyway, I'm here in solidarity. Folks here in LA are in solidarity, and I don't know. Thanks for having us. It was a powerful. I wish I could have been on for longer. I know I missed some of it. But yeah, thank you so much, and it's one of the pleasure. I look forward to seeing y'all in DC, and I'll try to get more of our LA people on a Wednesday. The time difference kind of makes things a little bit more difficult, but I'll plan ahead and push for it so it's not so last minute. But yeah, thanks again. Okay.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you. And yeah, so let's do it. One cause, one fight, one purpose. So again, I want to give a big shout out to my sister, um, Lee, who's here, Bernie. Like, we love you so much, and I'm so sorry for what happened to your sons. You have my deepest heartfelt condolences. If you need anything, you can hit me up. You got my personal cell phone number. You can hit me up at any time of the night, day, hour, second. I'm always here for you, my queen. And I want to give a big shout out to our brother Brock, who joined us, who had to leave, with Mass Action. Shout out Mass Action. I want to give a big shout out to our sister Ishtown Robinson, Every Case Matter. And I want to give a big shout out to our sister Christian that definitely represented. She bought it, like, and I'm so sorry. And I want to give everybody on here a big shout out just for just being you guys, just being yourself. I love you. This is a time of year where, there's graduation celebrations, there's weddings, there people being born into this world, babies are being born into this world, and unfortunately, people are dying. People are dying, and unfortunately, a lot of people are getting murdered, and it's just really sad and sickening. Something needs to change, like ASAP. Like, we can no longer. It used to be a time in life where you could play the fiddle like, pretend that you care and play both sides. Well, guess what? We passed those times. It's either you gonna do it or you're not. You pick a side. The side of love and winning, or the side of, hate, and you can go your way. Cause like, we're not about that, we're about love. So I just wanna say, live to love to live. And hopefully we'll be coming up, giving you guys an interesting report, because we're working on things as a West Coalition. We're not gonna discuss it now, but we're definitely working on something real big to not only reopen my brother case, but all these cases, guys. So we definitely are family. We love you guys. Live to love to live. Our brother Ben is going to take us out like he brought us in. And that's with a disturbing video of Killer Ruiz, who now is currently working as sergeant. He's married to the state's attorney, Michelle Battle. Like, they're a whole family out here now, like, of corruption. Like, it's disgusting. It's cruel. This is the world we live in. This is our reality, unfortunately. But Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. And I'll say this real quick, and we're gonna wrap up. The night the ACLU gave a damning report, because we only knew about 6 victims, literally, and my brother's was a fatality. But for me to learn on January the 20th, literally, that Ruiz had an additional 18 other complaints. These were people that were bold and brave enough to say, I want to go down and go through all the hell of filing the complaint, give my address, know that there's going to be retaliation against me in my life. These are some bold souls. What about the ones that were too afraid to say, you know what, I'm not going down there. Baltimore City Police Department, the FOP, they're all a joke. They're not going to take me serious. What about those victims? What about David Lewis? Every time we go to Morgan State University, we always, guys, and that's sickening, always come across a victim, a student that was terrorized, that was brutally beat down by David Lewis, and he's still currently working. Like, enough is enough. How many more victims? And like I said at the end of this video, we need to do something, and the time is now. Thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned for the last part of the video, and make sure you share this video, because even though Facebook didn't let us be great tonight, Instagram, we couldn't be great on Instagram tonight, that's fine, because we were just people who share. We are great, so nothing's going to stop our goodness, regardless of what. So thank you guys. Live to love to live, love you all. Thank you. Ben, the floor is all yours. Mic check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardes Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
Listen, Jesse, back the fuck up. No.
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
It said police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Dina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.